What's up, everybody, and welcome back to a new YouTube video. Bit of a different one today. So what we're doing today is we're looking at an exclusive interview with an ex-Wizard employee. Many of you may have heard about the recent layoffs. They laid off, I think it was around 1,100 employees over at Hasbro's. And evidently, this Commander's Herald, this article is written by Josh Nelson. I assume the interview was also conducted by him. But I saw this today on Facebook, and I thought it was super interesting. I briefly looked at it. I haven't looked at everything so far. I thought it'd be really interesting to go over it and just kind of talk about it and see see what this article has to say. As I'm sure if you've watched this channel at all in the past 6 months, I've been pretty critical of Wizards and Hasbro, really Wizards as well, just because they're kind of just underneath the same umbrella. But MTG in general, and the way it's been running, the way it's been handled, and the projection of everything, just hasn't been my favorite. And I've made that known. I've voiced that many times all over social medias, etc., etc. I sold out of my Seal collection. I sold out of the reserve list that I was holding on to after the whole 30th anniversary fiasco. Just a lot of bad looks for a great game that has been doing well for the past 30 years. And it's really sad to see that the trajectory of how this has been going. So without further ado, let's just hop into it. We'll go right down to where the questions are. This is just kind of like a preface of the interview, talking about how 1,100 people have been unemployed. I'm not sure how well the quality of I'm looking at my OBS right here, sorry, of like being able to read this. So I'm gonna read everything word for word and give you my thoughts on what was said and what the questions were. So the first question that was posed in this interview and in this article was the layoff something that came out of nowhere? Oh, also, I'm sorry, I should probably cover this as well. The person that was interviewed was kept confidential because they may want to work in this space, going forward. So we don't know exactly who was interviewed. Unfortunately, it'd be really nice if we did, but we don't. So that's just the nature of it, and that's just how it is. And again, obviously, this is on the internet, right? I've never heard of this website myself, but it's been shared across multiple people who I know well in the industry, and I know they know their shit. So I'm kind of basing off of them. This could just be a whole bullshit story, just to preface that, okay? Now, what I did read, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. So that's why I'm kind of going over it and we're covering it. But as always, with everything on the internet, take it with a grain of salt. Okay. So with that little tidbit covered, let's hop into it. So the first question was the layoff something that came out of nowhere? The answer was yes and no. While there were communication numbers were not where they were needing to be, all conversations pointed to this being due to the toy division of Hasbro, and that changes could be taking place on that end. We had several town hall Q&As with Human Resources Cynthia Williams and Chris Cox, where this was brought up, and the one with Cynthia, she responded to HR's comment of "we are killing it" by correcting her and saying we actually were not. She then called out to someone in the back of the group saying, "I believe Wizards numbers are lower than last year," to which the person who she was speaking to said they were actually up. She then tried explaining this as Wizards not hitting the numbers needed that was promised to stockholders, and if not for Baldur's Gate 3, the company could be in trouble. When this was brought up in the Chris Cox town hall, he commented about it being more towards the toy division that changes would be made. So that's interesting. Evidently, this is kind of a little bit out of left field, and evidently their HR, their human resources department, couldn't get their story straight. Sounds like Cynthia said it was that the WotC side of things wasn't doing great. And Chris Cox was saying that it was actually more towards the toy thing, kind of a bit of a weird response to because a town hall Q&A is just people, a group of people essentially just pelting questions at HR that they want answers to, and then HR of course will navigate it how they will. as all HRs will, right? And that's just how it is. That's just how companies like this run. It's interesting that they did give these responses. That's just odd. So was there severance, and if so, was it reasonable? There was, though, and looking at what has been offered to other companies is definitely on the lower end. I was shocked. Where are the internal fault lines, both within Wizards of the Coast and within Hasbro in general? Is there any generational divide, for instance? The employees within Wizards all meshed really well. You had to. Teams were so short-staffed and begging for headcount before the layoffs that you didn't have a chance to clash about anything. So that's interesting. So, yeah, that makes a lot of sense, right? Understaffed, not giving the resources that they need in order to put out the best products. I think we've seen that a lot the last couple of years with Wizards and with MTG in general. The best products have not been being put out, and I really hate to break to you if you think they are. It's just not. It's just really not. From your experience, were layoffs targeted at upper, middle, or lower class employees? Across the board, the only exceptions were the execs, of course, who need to be held accountable the most, and they never are. Is your faith in Hasbro as a company any different now compared to a month ago? Faith is much, much lower. However, this was dropping even before the layoffs happened. The constant need to squeeze customers for everything they could, while requiring employees to do more and more with fewer resources, just showed that they were strictly about the money. And yes, companies have to make money, but there was clear disregard for the customers here. Concerns and feedback were constantly raised to leadership, but it didn't matter. Only to just keep pushing the product. And so the reason why I said, like, I read that answer, so I read this answer, and I was like, I'm gonna make a video about it. We're gonna go over it. We're gonna look at it. We're gonna sit down and really digest what this article is saying, because really that's what I've been saying for quite some time now. It's very, very unfortunate. It's just there's no love for the IP. And that's what made this IP so great for the past 30 years is the amount of effort and time and love that was put into it. It wasn't just a money grab type of situation. It wasn't just, you know what I mean? Like it wasn't disingenuous, and now it feels that way. It feels very, very, very disingenuous. It's just how much money can we make in the quickest amount of time possible? And like, I get that companies need to make money, but like with something like this, and when it has a following, when it has a community, and it has player base, and it has small stores that push your product for you, like you got to look outside of that at some point, right? And that's kind of what this guy is saying, or girl, or guy or girl, could be either. That's what they're saying, right? That's what they're saying. So it's a really curious answer to that question, and this is where I stopped reading the article because I wanted to just go over it, give you my first off the clip takes, and we'll see what we got here. How much exposure to the details of Wizard of the Coast branded items does the standard Hasbro employee have? Do you see or hear anything like book names or packaging before it is announced? This depends on what products you are working on / with. You have to have insight to build campaigns and marketing, but insight was all there was. Again, feedback, concerns, and anything else brought up was dismissed. Again, sounds right. I feel like the people that are working at Wizards like understand what's going on. It's just they can't do a whole lot about it. It's just it's a subsector of Hasbro, and Hasbro owns it. So if Hasbro says to jump, Wizards of the Coast, people at Wizards of the Coast kind of have to say how high. You know what I mean? Like that's what it boils down to, right? What was the internal reception to Alta Fox's attempt to separate Wizards of the Coast from Hasbro in 2022? It was hard to hear anything about this. Hold on. It was hard to hear anything about this, with so much becoming one with Hasbro is going to be wonderful being shouted at us. However, employees were wary and had concerns. Nothing I recall being addressed. Just a lot of leadership. We'll have to discuss that and get back to you. Yeah, that sounds about right. So pretty much they just dismissed the whole idea. Sounds about right. What is the internal reception to the Magic Arena economy? Wild cards, no trading / dusting, etc. Yes, players complain, but as long as they are spending money, why change anything? And that's what I've been saying this whole time. If you want things to change with Wizards of the Coast, with MTG, and to get back to kind of where we were before, where there was a lot of lore, there was a lot of competitive scene, there was a true push and try to make and focus on the player base, much less than the products. The player base was the main concern, and we have just completely gone away from that, and it's all about how many products can be pushed out. But nothing will change unless you stop purchasing the product, right? And I know I am guilty of this as well, but I have substantially substantially cut back how much Magic product I buy. I used to buy a case. I used to buy cases. I used to buy collector boxes were coming out. I was buying cases. I was buying as many boxes as I possibly could. I can't tell you how much Ultimate Masters, how much Double Masters, how much the first Double Masters, not Double Masters 2022. Double Masters 2022, I think I did spend a little bit of money because I was actually playing at that point. But I have substantially cut back on. Oops, sorry, I went down a little too much on how much Magic product I purchase. And really, I only buy it for videos now, and to open it up, to check out the new sets, to give you guys something to watch and to look at. It's pretty much all I do. It's pretty much all I buy. That's all I get. And that's pretty much that. You have to hit them in the wallets, otherwise nothing's going to change, and no one's going to acknowledge that there is a substantial issue unless financially they are hurt. That's just how corporations work. It's how they've always worked. That's just how it is. And while I am a very small fish in a very large sea, it's what I can do to A, not feel like a complete hypocrite, right? And B, to it's my little voice, it's my little whatever. Okay, what are some resources you know about that could help out those who have been laid off by Hasbro? LinkedIn seems to be the best currently, with as many layoffs as we are seeing across the industry. People are really stepping up to try and help one another. Lean on your networks. Yeah, that's always a good piece of advice. We thank our anonymous contact for their willingness to let us hear what they had to say. Our hearts go out to those affected by Hasbro's layoffs, both from Wizard of the Coast and without. Hopefully, these people will find gainful work quickly. And that sentiment is echoed by me. I really hope everybody that was laid off does find some work. But yeah, super interesting article here, guys. I mean, it's just like kind of and again, since we don't know the name of the person, we can't be for sure, absolutely certain if this was a legitimate interview. We can't fact check who it is, all that good type of stuff, unfortunately. But it's a sentiment that's been echoed quite a bit. It truly has, by myself, by a lot of people within the community. People are just over it, man. People are just over it, and man, I actually read I think it was was it a Forbes article? I mean, Bank of America has roasted Hasbro and everything twice now about how they're destroying the IP that is Magic, right? So that it's not like they're doing that for fun. Like, it's not like they're putting out these reports. It's not. They do the research. They put out these reports after a lot of like time and effort is put into looking into the exact issues that are like they don't take this stuff lightly, right? So like, if you don't believe this article, believe Bank of America, believe Forbes. You know what I mean? Like, these guys are looking at this stuff day in and day out. They write articles on stuff like this all the time. It's just not a good direction. It's really not a good direction. And it's kind of insane. Really, it truly is. But it's unfortunately where we're at. So yeah, if you guys like this type of video, let me know down in the comments below. I love reading stuff like this. I love giving my 2 cents about stuff like this. So if you enjoy that type of content, please let me know. And if you hate it and if you disagree with me completely, I would love to hear why, and I would love to talk about it. I really would. I'm all about open conversations and being open to different ideas. Obviously, I'm not one of those people who are like Magic's completely dying. It's dead. It's gonna die tomorrow. I'm not like a doomsday person when it comes to MTG. But as I've said in previous videos, there are like incremental steps. And you can follow them, and you can follow this for other companies, for other IPs that have failed in the past. You can follow like kind of where it happened, and there's a timeline of events, right? And I truly think we're kind of in that timeline. And if nothing's done about it, if nothing's changed, then why is that timeline gonna deviate from where it is currently? You know what I mean? Like, there's no reason for it to, and it won't. So. I love the game. I really do. I truly do. I literally just did a pack opening with the dinosaur, the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. Fantastic set. I really enjoyed the idea behind it. I really did. But I really just think they need to put more effort into the LGSs, into the community that has been built over this past 30 years, going on 31 years now, right? It's just they need to be more player focused, more player centric, get people at LGSs buying the product, getting them involved, giving cool nifty promos for going to Friday Night Magic. You know what I mean? Like, you don't hear about people talking about that as much in the last few years. So yeah, let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.